Hey folks, DC here, DC's Gadgets. Today is January the 31st, 2020, and I got a few items to talk about. Kind of ramble today a little bit because it's been a while since I did a video, and there's a bunch of crap in my mind. Reason why I haven't done a video, if you haven't been following along, is I haven't had my truck. My wife was rear-ended at an intersection back in August of last year. Two ruptured discs in her neck, bulging discs in her back, torn rotator cuff, both bicep tendons, bunch of stuff. Anyway, been messing with the insurance company for a long time. Finally got a settlement, got a car. Just last week got a car, and so now I got my truck back and she's driving her own car. So this video, so the main topic I'm thinking of today is about my gadgets and the fact that people are copying my gadgets and how I feel about this whole thing, and I've got different feelings on it. So I've got different feelings in this whole copying my gadget thing. One individual actually sent me a note and asked permission to make some. Now granted, he's got a wider contact network going on than I do and could probably sell more items. And so I'm kind of have mixed emotions in the whole thing. Part of the deal is, this is my thing, this is what I do. And so I'm really hesitant to tell somebody to go ahead and make my thing, one of these possessive control freak type things, I guess you could call it. So I'm kind of holding on to that. And I've also got a deal in the work. I've been working something out with a major bee supplier to get my product in their catalog for over a year. And that negotiation is still underway, and I'm not going to stop. And so we're actually making headway. It's progressing along. And Rome wasn't built in a day, is the old expression. So eventually, I'm hoping that my gadgets will be in a catalog, and I'll have more exposure. Anyway, the topic though is the frame fingers. Last June, somebody sent me a link to a page where someone was making a 3D printed plastic copy of my frame fingers. And it wasn't exactly the same, but the same design. It hung on the side of the frame, held a single frame. I was kind of irritated. They were 3D printing them and selling them for $10, which I sell mine for $10. Mine are aircraft aluminum at $10. These things are 3D printed plastic and $10. So it's irritation. Then last week, same basic thing. 4 people in the same evening told me that over on a Facebook group, this guy was showing these things and telling people they could 3D print them for him and offering to sell these things. Again, $10 was the price I was told, so I went and looked at it. And I lodged a complaint with the website that's hosting the files. In reality, there's not a whole lot I can do. I don't have the legal clout to really file lawsuits against people, and the market's not that big to really get a lawyer that's super interested. So while it's a frustration, I have considered a few things since then. I'm looking at reality, and I'm also looking at the long game here. A couple of things to consider is the target audience I'm focusing on with my product is middle-aged adults, because the average age of backyard beekeepers in the country is like 55 years old. And by and large, the folks I know that are in that age group understand the difference in value between something made out of plastic and something made from aluminum. And so given a choice, I'm pretty sure they're going to choose the aluminum. And I also look at the fact that although 3D printing is a neat novelty, I don't think it's really super cost effective in the reality. I'm not sure how long it's taken these guys to 3D print the pair of fingers. I know both my sons have got 3D printers, and they're printing some pretty cool stuff. My younger son is into role-playing games and stuff, and so he's 3D printing some little medieval characters for his Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. That's kind of cool. And he's drawing up some of his own things. And so there's a novelty there, but there's a lot of time involved. Since I know he prints up some smaller things, and you're looking at hours So I don't know exactly how long it would take someone with a 3D printer to print out the frame fingers, but I'm going to guess at least 1 hour. Okay, so if somewhere along the line as you age, you're going to realize that spending an hour to save $5 is not savings at all. So your cost, your materials, maybe it is pennies, and you already own the printer, okay, and so the excuse could be, well, I can turn this thing on and let it print overnight, and it's really not taking a lot of my time. And so when you have that mentality, your time has no value. And if you get into business, trying to manufacture stuff for people, you have to come to the conclusion that, yes, my time has value. So when I started manufacturing these products to sell, I looked at it from a couple different aspects. Number one, I wanted to make a profit because I'm a greedy, evil capitalist, right? I want to make a profit. And number two is I want to sell something at a point where it's not attractive to make it yourself, because I'm also a tinkerer. Now, some products come on the market which are really nice, and some products come on that are super overpriced. And a case in point was 5 or 6 years ago was the first time I was ever exposed to a suspension trainer. TRX was the manufacturer. It's a copyrighted thing, TRX. First time I saw one, I thought, that is really neat. And I was like, I'm going to buy one of these things. And then I saw the price, $200. I'm like, you're smoking dope. And I have webbing strap in the garage. I've got PVC in the garage. I've got all this stuff in the garage. And so I saw one video, went out in my garage, and 20 minutes later I had my own TRX, and it took me about less than an hour, and some straps I already had, so valued at probably about $10 or $12. So you got an hour plus $12. So if you add it out, you're probably talking to $30. So the reality of this is that at that time, had someone had the same product available for about $30, I'd buy it. And today, it actually is. You can find a similar product which has been copied and knocked off. It does the exact same thing the original does, and they sell for $30. So I would tell somebody, if you're interested in doing this suspension training type stuff, unless you really want to make it yourself, spend the $30, because, I mean, time is money. So I'm making these frame fingers, and I want to price it at a point where it's not attractive for the tinkerer to make it himself, and I can still make money. So I have a certain advantage over your 3D printer or the guy with a skill saw or a drill press or a hacksaw, because you can do it manually, or even in a manual machine or a small CNC. You start making these things, even if you made them on a CNC like a Bridgeport or a Tormac or even a Mazak, you're not going to make them as fast as I can make them in the laser. And so your cost goes up. If it takes you 10 minutes to make one part, and you're paying $100 an hour for the machine, that one part is costing you quite a bit of money. Whereas the company I work for, I have access to the laser, although I still pay for laser time. I can put a 4x4 sheet of aluminum on the laser, push a button and walk away, and in 15 minutes, I have 150 fingers. It's a very little time. Then knock them out of the piece of aluminum, throw them in a tumbler for 3 hours, and they're ready to go. I have to just package them. So I can do this, and I can afford to do it, because I still pay for the cost of the aluminum. I'm still paying for laser time. Laser time is pretty expensive. $275 an hour for laser time, okay? Pretty expensive stuff. And I still pay for my corporate expenses, being a corporation. I still pay income tax. I still pay sales tax. You factor all that in, I can still produce these fingers and sell them for $10 a piece and make a profit. You're 3D printing these things, selling them for $10 a piece. If you think you're making a profit, you're smoking dope. Okay, you're not making a profit. So I look at long haul. I'm targeting people that are mature enough to understand value versus convenience. And also the fact that in beekeeping, I think the lifespan of most beekeepers is less than 5 years as hobbyists. I say the majority of hobbyists get in. I'm not sure what percentage it is. You get into it, you have bees for about 5 years, and the interest either wanes, or you find out that harvesting honey is really a pain in the butt, and you're not interested in beekeeping anymore. So I'm looking at that aspect. That's where I'm at. I'm not giving anybody permission to make my stuff. I don't want you to make my stuff. I want to make my own stuff. I understand the fact that we live in an age where CNC machining and 3D printing is prolific, and people can easily copy stuff. And that's another point too I'd like to get at. You folks that are 3D printing stuff, there's a problem with the last 2 generations. You've lost your creativity. Music is copies of stuff that was made in the 80s. Movies, every year is a remake of a movie that was made before. Where's the new stuff? I started doing machine work 30 years ago on an old manual Bridgeport that didn't have power feed or digital readout. I bought a bunch of magnetic bases for dial indicators so I could set stops on the machine to repeat locations without counting handles, because it was a real pain in the butt. Today, 3D machining and CNC machining is so easy to get. You can buy a CNC router kit for less than $3,000. Granted, you're not going to have tool changes, but you can do CNC 3D routing in your garage for $3,000, which is phenomenal. So if I'd had this stuff 30 years ago, there's no telling what I'd be making now. 'Cause hell, I mean, I just started doing CNC stuff 10 years ago with the Mazaks. The creativity is there. So instead of copying stuff that's already out there and 3D printing somebody else's idea, make some new ideas. Everything to be invented has not been invented. There's stuff out there to make. I mean, people have been keeping bees since 1850 in Langstroth boxes. Excuse me, I'm coming over pneumonia. Had pneumonia. I was in bed for 2.5 days. People have used Langstroth boxes since 1850. I came on the scene 4 years ago with a frame finger, and people were like, this is such a neat idea. It took 150 years to figure this thing out. Everything that can be invented is not invented. I have no idea what's coming up next. Open up your mind. You've got the tools there to make some really neat things. So stop copying stuff and make your own things. That's my rant.